It's the year 2025 and I thought, you know what, I might actually go for the Platinum Trophy in Earth Defense Force 2025. Why, you may ask? Great question. Because we only get one 2025 in our lifetime and the game title lined up perfectly with the current year, so I thought, why not? I even checked YouTube and not a single soul has recorded themselves doing this. And this video is going to go live in December, so am I about to be the one idiot in the annals of history who Platinums 2025 in 2025? Alright, yeah, kind of cringe. Honestly, that would be a first for me though, to actually do something first that no one else has done. It's worth prefacing here that I didn't actually start this in 2025. My playthrough started way back during the world event that shall not be named for algorithmic reasons. But the bulk of the platinum, yeah, that pretty much all happened in 2025. Honestly speaking, I just want to talk about this turbulent journey because this one was different, like properly different compared to my other videos. For starters, I was abandoned by my children mid playthrough. Yep, that's always nice, you know. Think you've done a good job raising your children and then they tag along for the ride and then just abandon you. Yeah, just straight up left me to fight giant insects alone. And then somewhere in between all of that chaos, I ended up spending some proper quality time with friends and family. However, all shall be revealed in due time. I don't want to jump too ahead of myself here. It's also worth noting that this isn't an entire trophy play-by-play video and that I'm also on a little bit of a personal mission here to get the Platinum Trophy in every Earth Defense Force game. From here on out, by the way, I'm just going to call it EDF because it's easier on the tongue. But yeah, every Platinum Trophy in EDF, not including regional stacks obviously because there's a lot. But you know what? I'm nearly there with that goal. After this title, I only have 3 left to get the Platinum on. They are the 2 PS Vita titles and the infamously grindy and repetitive Insect Armageddon, which I'm slowly chipping away at. For this, I just kind of want to give attention to the more notable trophies and talk about the overall experience. Alright, so EDF 2025 is considered an ultra rare platinum. It has 51 trophies to unlock. It apparently takes around 500 hours to do, according to a guide I found on PSN profiles. I'm going to be kind here and assume that that estimate must be for solo players because it did not take me anywhere near that time frame, and you'll see it near the end of the video as well. Sure, it's grindy. One trophy in particular is extremely RNG dependent. This version as well is horribly optimized. I remember playing the Xbox 360 version back in the day and it didn't run nowhere near as bad as this. I think that's why they re-released, I guess you could say, a remastered version titled Earth Defense Force 4.1 The Shadow of New Despair. It runs a hell of a lot better, but it's EDF and you can suffer in co-op together. So what do we have to do? We have 85 missions to tackle. If you choose to do this online, I believe there's actually more missions. I don't know the actual number, but it doesn't matter because luckily I will be doing this in offline local co-op. There are multiple difficulties to get through. You get a trophy for finishing normal, hard, hardest and inferno with each class. The classes, in no specific order, are called the Ranger, Wing Diver, Air Raider and Fencer. There are no trophies tied to easy mode, but I chose to do it anyway because it was good for armor, which is your overall health you can increase by picking up the red armor boxes. And there are a load of miscellaneous trophies in this game that have you working towards defeating a total number of something. For example, 20,000 ants. I'm not really going to mention these too much, a few here and there, but covering each one will be far too tedious. Believe it or not, most of them just unlock naturally while we're going through all the difficulties. What's also really good about this game is that on each mission screen, you have checkboxes to keep track of the difficulties you have completed with each respective class. You'll be running the same stages over and over, so this is extremely helpful. Now, my strategy going into this was to first beef up my Wing Diver as much as possible because the only trophy that in my opinion will give you trouble is the collect 100% of the weapons trophy. I already had experience with this trophy in the remastered version of EDF 4.1 The Shadow of New Despair, but we'll get to this trophy a little later into the story. On the subject of story, let me tell you how this video came to be. During the world event that shall not be named, and I really do hope you guys know what I'm talking about there. But yeah, I was just putting the final now in the 4.1 platinum when my daughter looked over to me and she was like, "Dad, are you going to be doing the other EDF game you have on the shelf over there, which is this game, EDF 2025? I sighed and said, maybe one day. She then turned to me and said, well, I don't mind playing it with you if you want, and I can help you get the platinum. God, the innocence. Never be fooled by the innocence, people. She said it with such conviction and I actually believed her. But in all honesty, there was nothing really to do during the world event. We was all stuck at home and I thought, you know what, this is a good excuse to spend time with the kids and also get some more co-op time in, especially local co-op. It actually pains me how developers these days are intentionally leaving this feature out with the excuse usually being budget related. I mean, let's be real, like they're not intentionally looking for ways to just spend millions for the sake of it. I'm sorry, but local co-op was a pivotal feature of the 80s, 90s and hell, even the early 2000s, and guess what? The budget for games back then wasn't even a fraction of what they are now. Anyway, segue aside, we decided to run through the Fencer and Wing Diver on normal difficulty for the normal difficulty related trophies, and we did that in a few days, while also picking up trophies related to getting a certain amount of armor with them. Then we started hard mode, and at this point I noticed she was starting to yawn her head off while listening to Ariana Grande and some K-pop stuff. Yeah, really bad sign. Especially when I knew what kind of game this was and it was was a long haul type of game. But yeah, she did her best to power through, even suggesting this idea by jokingly saying, "Can't you imagine finishing this in 2025?" So yeah, if you enjoyed this video, you can thank my daughter for this. But moving on, she was starting to struggle with the increase of difficulty, and I knew it was going to be hell going into the hardest and Inferno difficulties. She eventually caved in and said, "Dad, I'm not really enjoying this anymore." I was absolutely mortified, because from easy to, I'd say, early hardest, and that's kind of being generous to myself, I'm confident that I can do this while just leaving the second controller idle by myself, and it just so happened to be at that point, unfortunately, where I needed help. But it's okay, because the story continues. Exit daughter, enter son. I'd somehow roped my son into playing as the aerator while I played as the ranger. Mind you, this was a good few years after me and my daughter put it down for a while, and my son was the opposite to her. The easiness of the early game was putting him to sleep, and he just kept complaining, "Dad, we need the Inferno weapons. Dad, these current weapons are trash. I want to do the harder difficulties," he kept saying to me. And to his credit, he actually wasn't wrong. The problem though, when I said, "Okay son, let's go grind for some higher level weapons," he is vehemently against grinding as a gameplay loop. Or so he says, but he loves to grind out those Fortnite and Rocket League battle passes with no complaints, and he also loves those brainless tycoon games in Roblox as well. Anyway, it sounds like I'm shitting on my son right now. I'm not, it's just banter. But much like my daughter, his tolerance caved in as well, so now I was left in an unfortunate predicament with the year finally being 2025, and I was nowhere close to finishing hard with the Ranger or Aerator and all the difficulties related to Hardest and Inferno. I bit the bullet and just started progressing myself the best I could. I'm not gonna lie though, I was kind of struggling more so from a mental standpoint, because it wasn't until late 2025, and I guess you could say this is where the video gets a little personal, and I do apologize if you guys were expecting the regular regurgitated stuff that you usually see, but this for me is where it started to matter, and I thought it would make for authentically good storytelling. Let's start off with the mumsy, good old mum. So she asked me to go stay with my nan for a few weeks. My nan is now 80 and she's getting on a bit, and she also hasn't been in the best of health as of late. She'd been staying with my mum for just over a year, and her health finally started to perk up again, but she was kind of missing her own home, so I agreed and I stayed with my nan for just over 3 weeks. And for context, this started at the end of October 2025. Now, a lot of you may not know this, but the footage coming up felt really nostalgic for me. The room that I'm in, that you see in the footage, is actually where I originally started recording videos for my channel. My nan had let me turn that childhood room I grew up in into a fully fledged gaming man cave that most young boys dream of having. I owe my nan a lot. If you resonate even slightly with me as a person, you kind of have her to thank for that. So of course, I'd go stay with her. I mean, it's not like my kids would miss me, they betrayed me, remember? Both of them treacherous little swines. I'm joking. Anyway, I spent most days there waking up really early, making my nan cups of tea, listening to the radio, talking to her, watching the soap she enjoyed. I mean, look at this peak cinema from a show over here in the UK called Classic EastEnders.
I didn't become a little bit of a slag. I became a total slag.
I'm sorry, but it don't get better than that. That is peak British TV right there. Anyway, moving on. I'd go to my local park to exercise, come back, cook dinner, and then settle down to play some PlayStation. I already had a PS3 there, and the time I was there, it allowed me to take some massive downtime from playing PS4 and PS5 games, because I didn't obviously have a PS4 or PS5 there. And honestly, I thought I'd miss it, but honestly, I've been playing a lot of live service games as of late, and the 3 weeks I was there made me realize we're not exactly there yet, and this might be going on a little bit of a tangent here. Based on the current trajectory, if you look at the current gaming landscape, I think gaming is actually heading down a dark road. We're not there yet, but I definitely think the worst is yet to come. Anyway, tangent aside yet again, I played a little of Ni no Kuni while I was there. We got the platinum. I also played some Anarchy Reigns, which I didn't finish, and we're coming full circle now. I started farming away on EDF 2025. Now, I'll admit, around this point I was feeling slightly defeated and didn't think this video would make it out in time. I was going over things in my head asking, is this worth it? Are people actually even going to care about a video like this? The retention is probably going to tank like my other videos, which I consider a flop. You know, that kind of self-doubt, which has always been quite overpowering in my life. But then I got a phone call from a friend of mine I used to go to secondary school with. We were talking like normal, and when I said to him that I was at Nan's, he lit up like a firework. Remember when I said to you guys earlier, childhood room? Well, that's the amazing thing. This room, yes, was technically mine, but I used to have so many friends over for hours on end, where the room was more or less just as much theirs as it was mine, if that makes sense. I'm not really sure if my nan knows this, but she single-handedly created a safe space environment that kept us all off the streets. Countless memories created in one room to basically be cherished forever. I don't drink and neither does my nan, but I guess this is where I say cheers, nan. So back to the phone call. The conversation progressed with him, and his name is Lloyd, by the way, and he's also in a video currently on the channel, the one where we go for the Platinum in Chaos Bane together. But yeah, he was asking me what I was up to. I gave him the lowdown on pretty much everything you guys now know, and I told him about this video, and he jumped at the chance. But this is where it gets insane. Lloyd came over every night after work for a solid week for around 3 to 5 hours a night, and the progression we made on getting through the Hardest and Inferno difficulties was mind-blowingly impressive. This whole situation literally re-solidified the love I already have for co-op gaming. Adult life tends to be quite relentless at times, and I forgot, or I guess you could say rediscovered, how much I missed and loved spending quality time with my friends. It's honestly a priceless treasure. However, one of the first things we did amongst the difficulties was to get the rest of the miscellaneous trophies, which you should see currently popping. And with this renewed motivation I had been given, it made farming the rest of the weapons I needed while he wasn't there an absolute breeze. Let's talk about those weapons since I've just mentioned them. You basically have to farm weapons. They're acquired by picking up these green boxes mid-mission. Which class you pick up the box with does matter. For example, if you pick up a weapon with the Ranger, then post-mission screen you will see a weapon for the Ranger. Now, my go-to level for farming is a DLC mission called Golden Darkness. You can farm in the base game for high-end Inferno weapons, but for me personally, it feels kind of slow to do that. It's just my opinion. There's probably many ways to do this, but I went with Golden Darkness. It's quite quick to do, especially when you get the Wing Diver's Iodine FF weapon to drop. You can double up on this weapon, shoot all of its ammo, it rebounds the shots off the walls and around the corners, and it makes it perfect for this mission because it's a cave mission. And then when that current weapon goes on reload, you can swap to the next weapon, which is fresh on energy ammo, and the other gun will reload passively in the background. So my approach to this stage was just to obliterate everything with the Iodine FFs in a linear fashion, get to the last wave, which is a gold amp wave, and it's probably the most dangerous wave of this mission. I'd then pick up my second controller and I'd just casually stroll through the breadcrumb trail of weapons and armor left behind by the Wing Diver's destruction. Now, the way I've explained that does sound simple enough, and it is, but now repeat that God knows how many times. I swear to you, I did this stage close to 100 times, and the RNG is just so brutal. You see, the problem is the game keeps every single weapon in the loot pool. Even if you've already unlocked a particular weapon, it still has a chance to drop, meaning you will, and believe me, you will be getting a ridiculous amount of duplicate drops. I can already see some of you saying, yeah, this kind of sounds easy. Alright, okay, what would you say if I told you this game has 788 weapons spread out across the 4 classes, and they are bound not just to mission level, but also difficulty? You want those sweet Iodine FFs? Well, if you don't have the DLC, you're going to have to farm the last quarter of the game's missions on Inferno difficulty with a chance of that weapon dropping. And believe me when I say this, the base game missions, they're not that good for farming. On a more lighter note, I am actually thankful that in future EDF games, post 4.1 I believe, they have got rid of this kind of trophy, because conceptually, I get it, it adds to the gameplay loop, blah blah blah, all of that jargon that you're used to hearing, but putting it bluntly, and I apologize for my language, but it's fucking stupid. Anyway, you guys get to see the best bit after all that grinding. Here it is. In my opinion, the hardest trophy in the game, 100% all weapons. I'd also like to give this website a massive shout out. It's called invadersfromplanet.space. This was the only website I could find that allowed me to keep a checklist of the 788 weapons. The in-game stats do have a weapon counter, but you won't exactly know what you're missing unless for some weird reason you have obsessively remembered every weapon in the game, which I'm gonna keep it real, I highly doubt. But yeah, I don't think I would have been able to do this if it wasn't for that website, so thank you to whoever you are that made that website. Last half of the video, now we're gonna approach the difficulties. So I tried to set this one up in a way where they all pop cleanly. So first and foremost, let's see that hard mode trophy with the Ranger and Air Raider that my son so brutally and casually abandoned me on. Again, I'm joking, every time I mention my kids it's just banter, I just want to put that out there. But yeah, next trophy is the Ranger and Air Raider yet again, but this time on hardest difficulty. And then we have the hardest difficulty again, but this time for the Wing Diver and Fencer. Okay, now, last but not least, the Inferno mode trophies. So I wanted to separate these from the pack because I have a little something to say about them, because I think this difficulty is truly where the intricacies of EDF shine. I don't think I'm far off, or it's unfair to say that most people look at this game and just see it as a janky, mindless third-person point-and-shoot Muso Warriors game with terrible graphics, and to be fair to the people that have that assumption, they're not actually that far off. However, in my experience, experience with all the EDF games can be done in two ways. You brute force it by farming an absurd amount of armor to tank every hit possible, or you can learn the layout of the maps and what will be thrown at you to appropriately prepare. Have any of you ever heard the old saying, failure to prepare, prepare to fail? That's EDF's Inferno mode to me in a nutshell. As you may have seen through the multiple clips used in this video, I did not excruciatingly farm armor like my life depended on it, because map knowledge and the right weapons trump everything. And don't get me wrong for one second, there will be levels like the last level, for example, say mission 85, that will kind of have you raising your eyebrow over just how absurd the enemy bombardments can get. Watching your armor get deleted in mere seconds when you have the acknowledgement that it took hours to farm that, it's soul crushing, I'm not gonna lie. But dare I say, that is what I enjoyed. A game that forces me to sit back, or in this case, sit back with my friend and analyze what we're doing wrong and what we can do differently to make it work. I thought the last mission was our platinum stopper, and it was for a while, but then we ended up doing it back to back once we'd learned how the stage played out twice in a row. And for that, here is our reward for our resilient perseverance. 2 really ultra rare trophies for finishing Inferno mode with the Ranger and Air Raider. You have no idea how happy I was to just see that one ticked off. Inferno mode in this game is no joke. With the frame drops and lag and just horrible optimization in general, trying to play skillfully on Inferno mode, it's very difficult to do. Anyway, last but not least, I saved a kind of easy mission to pop the last 2 Inferno trophies for the Wing Diver and Fencer, which also comes full circle and beautifully pops the EDF 2025 Platinum in 2025. Guys, how did we do? It was a joint effort, so I'd just like to take this time to thank my treacherous kids. I'm joking yet again. They did their bit, so thank you, daughter. Thank you, son. And of course, thank you to Lloyd for slugging it out with me on the hardest and Inferno difficulties. To be able to bring this video to life under the very unrealistic tight time constraint that I'd stupidly given myself. If you did enjoy this video, you already know all the YouTube jargon. I'm not going to patronize you. You do you, but I'm still going to thank you for getting this far. My final note is, I guess you could say, I really wanted to immortalize something that could only really be done once in life. And you know what? A closing 2025 message going into 2026 to future me, if you watch this back, don't be so goddamn hard on yourself. And I spread that to every single person watching this that may share the unfortunate trait that I have, where you put your effort into everything and for some weird reason you just treat yourself like shit. I don't know why. I'm not a masochist, but that's definitely one trait I have, where I just always undersell myself. I'm very hard on myself. But the video's getting mushy now, so anyway, I'll catch you guys in the next video, which will more than likely be nothing like this one. Back to the more traditional trophy formula. And yeah, I'll catch you guys in the next one. Have a good rest of 2025 and Happy New Year in advance as well. Take care.